Alright, let's dive into something that's got the media world buzzing: David Ellison's recent op-ed in the New York Times. Now, before we even get into the nitty-gritty, let me just say, this whole situation is a perfect example of how politics and media are colliding in ways that are both fascinating and, frankly, a bit absurd. So, here's the deal: Ellison, the CEO of Paramount-Skydance, is trying to merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, and suddenly, he's in the hot seat, defending himself like he's in a confession booth. Why? Because he dares to want more centrist programming. Crazy, right? What makes this really interesting is the backlash he's facing. A dozen Democratic state attorneys general, led by California's Rob Bonta, are suing to block the merger on antitrust grounds. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a legitimate concern, protecting competition and all. But if you take a step back and think about it, it's hard not to see the political undertones here. Ellison's not exactly a right-wing firebrand, he's more of a centrist. And yet, he's being painted as some kind of threat to progressive values. Personally, I think this says more about the current political climate than it does about Ellison himself. One thing that immediately stands out is the role of CNN in all this. Ellison wants to acquire it, and that's got some people worried. Why? Because CNN has been a reliable platform for progressive voices, and Ellison's already made moves to bring CBS News more to the center with the appointment of Bari Weiss. Now, Weiss isn't exactly a mega cheerleader, she's pro-Israel and anti-woke, but that's a far cry from being a right-wing ideologue. What many people don't realize is that this kind of centrism might actually be what the media landscape needs right now. Audiences are tired of the extremes, and yet, here we are, with politicians trying to block a merger because it might, gasp, expose people to more balanced viewpoints. From my perspective, the antitrust argument here is pretty weak. Bonta claims the merger would harm consumers, but let's be real, Paramount and WBD are hardly dominating the market. They're struggling to compete with streaming giants like Netflix and big tech platforms like Amazon and YouTube. Combining forces could actually make them more competitive, which is good for consumers. But instead of seeing the bigger picture, these AGs are focusing on political optics. It's like they're more concerned with scoring points with their base than with actual economic realities. A detail I find fascinating is how this case highlights the disconnect between US politics and global perspectives. The EU and the UK have already approved the merger, recognizing that combining two weak companies doesn't create a monopoly, it creates a stronger competitor. But here in the US, we've got politicians like Bonta and New York's Tish James trying to paint this as some kind of existential threat to media diversity. What this really suggests is that the real threat isn't to competition, it's to the progressive narrative that's dominated media for so long. If you ask me, this whole situation raises a deeper question: why are we so afraid of centrism? Ellison's not trying to push a right-wing agenda, he's trying to create content that appeals to the majority of Americans, who are somewhere in the middle. And yet, that's somehow controversial. It's like we've forgotten that media is supposed to reflect a variety of perspectives, not just one side's talking points. This lawsuit isn't about protecting consumers, it's about protecting a narrative. And that, in my opinion, is the real story here. So, where does this leave us? Well, the merger's future is still up in the air, but one thing's for sure, this battle is about more than just two companies. It's about the direction of media, the role of politics in business, and what kind of content we want to consume. Personally, I think Ellison's onto something with his push for centrism. Whether the courts, and the public, agree remains to be seen. But one thing's certain, this is a conversation we need to keep having. What do you think? Is centrism the way forward, or is it a pipe dream in today's polarized landscape? Let me know in the comments below.